Good afternoon. Oh, come on. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That's a big rousing response there. Welcome to the swearing-in robing ceremony of Judge Mary DeBoer. I'm going to do a lot of introductions. The first person I want to thank, though, is I want to thank the Chief Justice and members of the Supreme Court for allowing us to use this beautiful room here today. It's always makes our ceremonies so much more special when we get to do them here. So we will start introducing. We've got lots of introductions as always here. And I'm going to start right down here on my right. We have the Honorable Pete Foley. Next to Judge Foley is the Honorable Elizabeth Tavitas. We then have the Honorable Melissa May, the Honorable Nancy Vadic. Starting down here on the front row, if you can throw your hand up there, Mark, just to let us know where we're starting, the Honorable L. Mark Bailey, the Honorable Cale Bradford, the Honorable Elaine Brown, the Judge Leanna Weissman. I'm mixing it up instead of using the Honorable. I was getting tired of that. Judge Dana Kenworthy. Next to Judge Kenworthy is the Honorable Paul Felix. Then we have, where's former Justice Randy Shepard? These are our senior judges. There he is. Sitting next to Senior Judge Shepard is Senior Judge John Baker. Next to him is Senior Judge Edward Najum, Senior Judge Margaret Robb, Senior Judge Pat Riley. We have retired Judge Ezra Zeke Friedlander. And our tax court judge, we have Justin McAdam. And also, I believe, Senior Judge Martha Wentworth is here as well. Thanks and welcome, Marty. So we also have special guests. And bear with me as I read through your names. Please throw your hands up so we know who you are. And I apologize for mispronunciations as they may occur. So we have our Secretary of State, Diego Morales. Very good. How are you, sir? Elisa Nishala is our State Comptroller. The Honorable Cindy Carrasco, Senator from District 36 of the Indiana Senate. The Honorable Michael Aylesworth, Representative, District 11 of Indiana House of Representatives. Thank you, sir. Honorable Chris Jeter, Representative, District 88 of the Indiana House of Representatives. We have members of the federal court that are here. The Honorable Jamie Ayler, who's Chief Judge of the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District. Where are you, Jamie? Former Superior Court Judge here in Indiana. Welcome, sir. Also, continuing on, the Honorable Andrea McCord, who's also here, likewise with the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of Indiana, likewise a former judge here in India, Superior Court Judge in Indiana. And the Honorable John Martin, Magistrate Judge, U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of Indiana. Welcome, sir. We have some state trial court judges here today. We have the Honorable Robert Freese from Hendricks Superior Court 1, retiring in, I think he told me, 22 days. Not that he's counting. The Honorable Christopher Buckley, Judge, Porter Superior Court 4. Thank you, sir. Honorable Kent Apsley. Where are you, Kent? There you are. Judge Shelby, Superior Court 4. Honorable Jennifer DeGroot. There she is. And she's the judge in Allen Superior Court. Honorable Heather Barajas, Judge, Montgomery Superior Court. Where are you, Heather? Okay. Straight ahead. Thank you. Sorry. The Honorable Mark Dudley. I did see him out there. Nice to see you, Mark, from Madison Circuit 6. Clayton Graham, who is a judge with Marion Superior Court. The Honorable Gerald Leach, Judge, Newton Circuit Court. New judge, right? The Honorable Lakshmi Reddy, I saw her in the hall too, judge from Vigo Superior Court. David Riggins, Judge, Shelby Superior Court 2. Thank you, David. Richard Stallbrink, LaPorte. How are you, Richard? Honorable Samuel Kappas from Lake Superior Court. Marissa McDermott, Judge in Lake Circuit Court. Stephanie LeMay Lucan, Judge in Hendricks Superior Court. Sorry about that, Stephanie. Honorable Kristen Mulligan, Magistrate Judge, Porter Circuit Court. Thank you. Honorable Anna Osan, Magistrate Judge, Porter Superior Court 1. Thank you. Honorable Beth Jansen, as Magistrate Judge here in Marion County. Thanks, Beth. Honorable Robert Van, Magistrate Judge, Lake Superior Court. Where are you, Bob? There you are. Okay. We also have the Honorable David Massey. He's a senior judge. Thank you. The Honorable Michael Bergerson, also a senior judge. The Honorable, thank you, sir, Nancy Gettinger, also a senior judge. The Honorable Janine Calabrese, senior judge. The Honorable Darren Dolhanty, double D, formerly of Richmond, now lives in Bloomington. The Honorable Heather Welch, retired judge from Marion Superior Court. The Honorable Roger Bradford, retired judge, Porter Superior 1. Very good. And lastly, we have the Honorable Tammy Serp, who's an administrative law judge with the Indiana Board of Tax Review. Thank you for being here. Oh, it's not over yet. We have some members here from our Bar Association. We have Joel Skeel, who's the Executive Director of the Indiana State Bar. Where are you? There you are, sir. Also, Mike Gisadas, I mispronounce his name every time. Gisadas, the chief, tells me, so thank you. All right, very good. Mike is the president of the Indiana State Bar Association. Speaking of bar associations, we have the president of the Indianapolis Bar Association. David Duncan is here as well. Thank you. And Jerry Garrow, president of the Indiana Trial Lawyers Association as well. Thank you, Jerry. Others, we have Joe Hearns, who is general counsel for Governor Eric Holcomb, has been since day one, and always a pleasure to have you, Joe, and thanks for all the great work you've done for the courts. Much appreciated. Blake Lanning, Deputy Attorney General. Thank you. Jerry Bonet, General Counsel for Indiana Secretary of State Diego Morales. Jennifer Thuma. Where are you, Jennifer? And she is with Comptroller Elise Nishala and is her Chief Counsel. Amy Carrazos, State Public Defender. Okay, very good. Bradley Skolnick, Executive Director, Office of Admission and Continuing Education. Adrian Myring, our Executive Director of the Indiana Supreme Court Disciplinary Commission. Molly Kitchell is here. She's a member of our Judicial Nominating Commission. Also, another member of our Judicial Nominating Commission is Mr. Danny Lopez. We have, and while we're on Judicial Nominating Commission, I would also like to introduce Don Ward, who was a longtime former Judicial Nominating Commission. Don, it's always a pleasure to have you here, and thanks for being with us. Karen Graves, Administrator of the Indiana Tax Court. And our court administrator for the Court of Appeals, Larry Morris, is also here. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Chief Justice Loretta Rush to introduce members of the Indiana Supreme Court.
Thank you, Chief Judge Altice. Today, my colleagues are here, and I'll introduce them. If you could just wave. Justice Mark Massa, Justice Jeffrey Slaughter, Justice Christopher Goff, and Justice Derek Moulter. We also have three previous justices from the court: Frank Sullivan, Professor Justice Frank Sullivan, Justice Brent Dixon, former Chief Justice, and then former Chief Justice Randall Shepard. So welcome, gentlemen. Judge DeBoer, welcome to the appellate bench. And to all the trial court judges out there, what is going on back in your counties today? I think I see, in looking at the trial court judges that are coming, it's a real testament to your leadership on the bench, your friendships. I know all of you, and you really are sort of the all-star trial court judges within the state. So congratulations, Mary. On behalf of the Indiana Supreme Court, we welcome you to the appellate bench.
At this time, I'm going to introduce our speakers that we have today, and the first person speaking for the robing ceremony here today is Joe Hearns, General Counsel for the Honorable Eric Holcomb, Governor of the state of Indiana. Joe, the stage is yours.
Chief Justice Rush, Chief Judge Altice, justices, judges, and honored guests, good afternoon. It's an honor to be here today on behalf of Governor Holcomb and to have the opportunity to say a few words at this momentous occasion. Before starting remarks about Judge DeBoer, the governor wanted me to convey his deep appreciation to Chief Justice Rush and the entire Judicial Nominating Commission for its robust and thorough vetting and all of all the candidates and for sending him 3 very capable and well-qualified finalists. This wonderful event and the selection of such a remarkably well-qualified individual in Mary DeBoer simply would not happen without all of the time, effort, and energy each of the members of the JNC puts into it. So thank you. At previous robing ceremonies that I've had the privilege to speak at, I've said that days like today are momentous days, and today is certainly no different. Momentous for the judge being robed, for their family, friends, our judiciary, and indeed our entire state. It's exciting for all of us, for many reasons, not the least of which is knowing what's possible in the years ahead as we watch Judge DeBoer grow into the role and make her own unique mark on the court and the state in her own way. For we all know that the impact that a single extraordinarily well-qualified judge can have can be truly remarkable. I've talked in the past about what the governor looks for in a candidate. Back in 2017, we built the governor's multifaceted, robust, and dynamic judicial selection program very intentionally so that we could help the governor achieve what he told us his goals and objectives were. I've been honored to develop and run that program with the assistance of my deputies, particularly Sharon Jackson, who plays such a key role in what we do on judicial selections. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Cindy Carrasco before she had the audacity to leave us, run for prosecutor, and become an Indiana state senator. But Cindy played such an important role with us in those early years, so thank you for that. It all starts, of course, with identifying the most highly qualified, remarkably talented people for serious consideration. Consistent with that, what the governor looks for when he's deciding who to appoint to the bench are candidates who are bright, dedicated, ethical, innovative, collaborative, highly experienced and reputable, committed to the rule of law always, and who will be fair, just, and serve with honor and distinction. That's a long list, but it's a very important one, to which I'm going to add a few more attributes that are always top of mind to the governor. In fact, I've mentioned them once or twice at previous robing ceremonies in this very room. The governor has a saying that he shared with his entire staff on day one of his administration back in 2017, and that is he expects all of us to live and breathe every day what he calls the 3 H's, that we be honest, humble, and hungry. And he expects that not only of his staff, but also of his appointees, whether they're agency heads on boards and commissions or justices and judges. In his view, being honest means being truthful and a person of high character and integrity. Being humble means being modest, kind, courteous, realizing it's not all about you, and certainly not being arrogant or enthralled with one's own importance or the important position that they happen to hold. And lastly, being hungry. And being hungry is not about food or filling your belly. It's about having and consistently maintaining the hunger, the drive, the determination, and commitment to make a difference in some amazing, remarkable way, over and above what a typical person in that position would normally do. In other words, don't just occupy and be a placeholder in your job. Do something great with it. Which brings me to Mary DeBoer and her selection. Not to be a master of the obvious, but all of the skills, abilities, qualities, characteristics, motivations that I just mentioned, Mary has all of them in spades. So instead of listing all of the amazing things about Mary and what she's done during her very distinguished career, let me share the governor's comments that he made when he announced her selection a couple months ago, as well as the comments I heard personally from a giant in the legal community, someone outside of the State House that I talked with back then when we were doing our vetting of all the finalists. First, when the governor publicly announced that he had selected Mary, he said, and I quote, "Her infectious spirit is contagious, and she brings energy and professionalism to everything she sets out to accomplish. Throughout her career, Mary has earned a reputation as a positive difference maker, both on and off the bench, and she possesses a compelling desire to serve and protect people, a passion for preventing domestic violence, and a real heart for helping youth. She's innovative, takes initiative, and embraces changes that help modernize our judicial system while remaining laser-focused on the people and institutions that she serves. The governor also said that listing Judge DeBoer's contributions and accomplishments would take the remainder of the day, and I agree. Her application for this vacancy was 34 pages in length, one of the longest I've ever seen, but it's not because she was bragging. It was not because she was bragging or boasting. It's simply because she's done so much during her career and has made such an extraordinary impact in so many ways, and she wanted us to have a complete picture of her so that we could properly and accurately evaluate her during our process. Now, the giant in the legal community that I mentioned, who will remain unnamed, because the conversations that my team and I have with people during the vetting process are always strictly confidential, said the following about Judge DeBoer, and I quote, "Mary has done it all and is of the temperament, demeanor, and integrity and character that's so vital for a Court of Appeals judge. She has excellent team-building skills, outstanding intellect, and a gritty determination to succeed and pursue excellence. Plus, her work ethic is legendary. The governor would be hard-pressed to find another person who is more qualified to serve on our Court of Appeals," end quote. And I can say that the governor wholeheartedly agrees. Judge DeBoer, on behalf of the governor, congratulations.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Mr. Gary German, who's the prosecutor in Porter County. All yours, sir.
Thank you. May it please the court. It was a cold day in January in 1975, and a young, inexperienced lawyer approached a podium very similar to this one in a Michigan City courthouse to begin jury selection in a double homicide murder case. The young lawyer was scared to death, nervous beyond words, so much so that his legs and his knees were shaking. Well, at least my knees and legs aren't shaking today, but the nervousness remains. And part of that is a heightened sense that today, of all days, I did not want to do anything to disappoint Judge DeBoer. Judge DeBoer is really Mary to me, because Mary and her husband Dave have been friends, great friends of ours for years and years and years. They are the kind of friends that, and you have them, I know, that you may not have seen them for a while, but when you see them again, you pick up right where you left off. It's a cherished relationship for which I am so grateful. But there is so much to say to and about Judge DeBoer, and if there wasn't enough pressure already, the last instruction from her husband Dave was to, quote, "make it interesting." Last year during the NBA playoffs, the New York Knicks suffered an excruciating loss. After the game, Jalen Brunson, the point guard for the Knicks, was being interviewed by one of the announcers, wondering how in the world the Knicks would be able to respond. Without hesitating, he confidently spoke these words: "Hard work is undefeated." If these profound words are true, and I believe they are, Mary DeBoer is undefeated. Without question, Judge DeBoer can be defined by those two simple words: hard work. Anything and everything she does is at 100%, full speed. On occasion, I would see her walk around the track at the YMCA. It's just a blur as she's passing everyone on the track. She was expected to pay her own college expenses, and she did that. She worked her way through college waiting tables. Gotta love the cork and cleaver, don't you? Worked in a bridal store, selling women's shoes and clothing, while at the same time receiving multiple Scholastic Awards, graduating cum laude from the College of Arts and Sciences. As the selection process began for this appointment, I personally experienced a couple defining moments. The first one occurred when she stopped me in the hallway of the courthouse, which I remember, and first told me she was going to apply for the vacancy. I could see, hear, and feel her excitement for just even the possibility she might be chosen, for her passion for this work, for the hope that had come alive within her, that this dream of hers might actually become true. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith sings in his song, Dream On, he says, dream on until your dreams come true. But Mary's dream did not come true without her passion, hard work, and perseverance. Most significantly, her work ethic is not defined by arrogant self-promotion, by a love of service for all of us. She probably knows this already, but when she told me she was going to apply, I prayed for her. And then there was a time in the hallway when she stopped me, and there's a possibility I might have to speak in front of all you today. So I started praying she wouldn't get the appointment. As many of you know, with the implementation of bond hearings pursuant to Criminal 2.6, there's a greater opportunity for judges to talk directly or chat with the criminal defendants about their possible pretrial release. Judge DeBoer has taken full advantage of that opportunity. Now, keep in mind, these are the criminal defendants who have not worked in 2.5 years, and upon their arrest, immediately have a job starting in 2 days. Some are still high, some are high and sick, and still others with experience will say whatever they think the court wants to hear to secure their release. Her two assistants, Michelle and Susie, created and prepared a list of her favorite responses to the creative and unusual answers given by the defendants during these hearings. And please don't think this happens every now and then, because it's virtually every week. So we thought we would prepare you for some of these responses, because you may hear some of these during oral arguments. Now, honestly, Judge, I wanted to omit this part of the talk, but Michelle and Susie insisted that it be a part of it. So here you go. Here are some of her responses. Top 10. Coolio. Good juju. Buffoonery. Skosh, whatever that means. I'm sorry, skosh. Peace out, Girl Scout. Not my first rodeo. Gobbledygook. Great, you do you, boo. I'm told boo is translated to mean a friend in a cute, playful sense. Whoa, back up the truck. And the last one, risk it for the biscuit. The process which has resulted in her selection is interesting to me. I think, at least from my standpoint, a fundamental misconception or illusion is that somehow people promote us or have promoted her. But that is not to say people have not been strategically placed in her life. For example, some people seemingly were placed in her life that were meant to harm her. They were meant to defeat her. But instead of those experiences, those people have operated to promote her, have helped to define her, and have led her to her greatest victories. For her, those experiences not only served to not only instill in her the work ethic I spoke about earlier, but a spirit of resolve, determination, devotion, but tempered with a spirit of kindness, patience, and most importantly, love. By her choices made in challenging times, ashes have been literally transformed into beauty. From those ashes, a lifelong anthem emerged. A promise made is a promise kept. A promise made is a promise kept. I wonder, too, whether the result would have been the same with a different makeup of the nominating commission and others who were involved in the process, or even a different governor. Mary, when you look back at this over the years, or maybe you can see it now, your selection, none of this was just a matter of coincidence or a matter of good luck. Rather, to me, this is a divine appointment, orchestrated by the architect of the universe. Your past, who you are today, who you are becoming, or why you are here. You have been chosen and set apart for purposes beyond our understanding. For you, Mary DeBoer, this should create in you, first of all, a great sense of responsibility. The intense responsibility to remain courageously devoted to the rule of law embodied in the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the state of Indiana, such that no one is too powerful or too wealthy to be above the law, and no one is too poor or marginalized to be below it. My hope, too, is that you've been inspired by your selection. My guess is the glamour of your appointment wore off quickly, minutes after you walked into your new office for the first time. That you be inspired to continue to learn, to work, to see, hear, and feel truth, and to act wisely in the discovery of that truth. My final hope is that you will and have, as always, remain humbled in love, and having been a devoted servant of the people of Indiana. Thousands of years ago, in a crisis situation, which was a matter of life and death to an entire nation, the father spoke these words to an adopted daughter. Who knew that you were born to be in this place at such a time as this? I think these ancient words apply to you this afternoon, but may apply to you as a justice in the Indiana Supreme Court. Every day in the job I love so much, I have the distinct honor and the responsibility to speak for the people, not because I have to, but because I get to. For the people from Lake Michigan and the Indiana Dunes, south to the Kankakee River Valley, from LaPorte to Lake County, from the east and to the west, respectively. I know that today I am speaking for the people of Porter County when I say to you, Mary DeBoer, and to this court and to this state, we are sending you our very best. We are so proud of her, and we are going to miss her so much. We all love you, Mary DeBoer. And I know for you, those of you who do not know her, that when you get to know her, you will love her just like we do. From ashes to beauty, Justice Mary DeBoer, for the people.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Robert Freese from Hendrick Superior Court.
I didn't want to speak first, but I don't know if I really wanted to follow that. Chief Justice Rush, Chief Judge Altice, Dave, Lindsay, special guest, and most importantly, Mary. What a day. And I feel really honored to you've asked me to do this. Still trying to figure out why. Because she knows me enough that I thought she was going to require me to give her bullet points to review first, then research the rough draft, then make me correct it 3 or 4 times. Instead, I provided nothing to her, so she has no clue what's about to be said. We go back a couple decades. She was extremely young, as she still is, and there were several of us, some of us in the room today, that attended this thing called New Judges Orientation. It was my 3rd attempt to go through it. It was Mary's first. I was on the staff, and you can see right then and there was something, and we all know what it is. She just goes 100 miles an hour and wants to suck in as much knowledge as she can. She served as a magistrate in 2 different counties, circuit court judge, having a staff of well over 50 people. I have 2 staff people, and I don't even want to deal with them. I don't know how you could deal with 50 staff people in the areas that she oversaw. The Indiana Judge Association is probably most near and dear to my heart, anything in the entire judiciary. And about a decade or so ago, we changed the Constitution to give magistrates some say. And there was 2 districts set up. Mary was elected to one of those districts. Another magistrate from Marion County was elected to the other one. And the two of them did such a job of letting everybody else know what their concerns were. They had about as many magistrates show up for their magistrate meetings as we would for a judges association meeting. And we have 30 people on our board. That's what you get. You get sucked in. Mary's got an idea. Poof, all of a sudden, that idea takes legs and everybody's involved. I'm glad that the prosecutor said a few things that he said, because then it makes me feel a little bit more at ease about some of the comments I'm now going to make. One is, if you don't know, Mary's an actor and a singer, and beyond great at both of them. When she said something to me about this whole process, I said, well, I'm not the guy to ask, because there's no way. But I said, here's one thing. You got to be yourself. And if there's anybody that is herself and true to herself, it's Mary. And so being true to herself, there was a group of us in line to go eat dinner at the judges' conference, and this judge came walking by. I go to introduce Mary to this person. He says, hi, I'm Cale Bradford. And Mary says, what do you do? He goes, not knowing the significance of the statement he's about to make, he says, I'm Judge Vadick's law clerk. And Mary's response is, oh my gosh, I love Judge Vadick. She's one of my mentors, and she's going on and on and on. And we're all sitting there just trying to keep from laughing our heads off. Mary, Cale is now one of your colleagues. Still amazing. And you get to work with your mentor. It is pretty cool. So I got the name of some folks that maybe know her better than some others, and asked them to send me little snippets. Mary also told me I had an hour to speak, so I'll try to get done within that hour's time here. First guy. I met Mary our first week of law school, and we've remained close ever since. Our career paths have intersected many times as prosecutors, magistrates, and judges. Throughout all the years I've known her, she's not changed. And one of the things I've always appreciated about her, that she's willing, that she will always be true to her word, and you will always know exactly where you stand with her. True. Mary has an energy about her that is infectious. I may not be the first person that even said that today. She's always been the type of person who works and works hard, both on her own and collaboratively. I recall a time when Judge Nancy Gettinger and I were together and received a call from Mary about a particular summary judgment issue. She wanted to see if we had dealt with a similar issue. It was obvious Mary put a lot of time into the case, and all she was doing was crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's to make sure she was doing everything she could do to get the right answer. I may have had a couple calls like that in the last decade or so. To continue on, Mary's keen intellect and hard work ethic, combined with her outgoing personality and high energy, will continue to draw in and engage other judges on the Court of Appeals as they collaborate together to arrive at the right decisions on matters before them. Now, every one of these persons told me that I could use their name, but I'm just going to let Mary think about who they might be and maybe tell her later on if she can't figure out who they are. I have a feeling she'd probably figure out who that one was. Next one, I don't know this person, and when I read the first sentence, I'm going, wait a minute, I asked about Mary DeBoer, because she starts out with, Judge has the patience of a saint. At a sentencing hearing, a defendant decided he was going to give the judge a piece of his mind and let her know he didn't agree with her sentence. He screamed at her, calling her, the true words were in there, but called her a significant expletive deleted, okay? Among other things, and the judge didn't react, didn't yell, didn't hold him in contempt. She just took a break, gave him time to cool off, then came back to the bench and finished the hearing. How many trial court judges in here failed to do that at some point in your career? The defendant didn't know what to do because he was clearly expecting some sort of reaction from the judge, and when she didn't, it completely took the wind out of his sails. Having that amount of patience with the defendant was extraordinary. Staff member goes on to say, I wanted to cuss him out on her behalf. The next story says takes a minute to process, but it's pretty amusing, and Mary will never talk to me again after saying this, but this came from one of her staff people, not me. Judge implemented a timeline for cases and gave a multitude of dates and the initial hearings to keep the cases moving promptly. She always had a status plea date. When explaining to the defendants and their attorneys that she wasn't joking about this cutoff date, she often used the phrase that was the date to defecate or decommode. You're a pretty smart group. It didn't take you very long to get that. She left it at that, and it was amusing every time she said it. So I'm making an assumption it occurred more than one time. When Judge Mary DeBoer was a family court magistrate in Porter Superior I, she was well known as a no-nonsense, straight-talking judicial officer who called it as she saw it and told it like it was. She spoke to battling parents using no uncertain terms and often in their own vernacular. You got to know your audience. I recall her being in the courtroom and lecturing both parents to behave during custody exchanges. She warned both parties not to call the popo. Well, the staff member had no clue what the popo was. She says, now, I'm from a different generation, and apparently the magistrate and I run in different circles. I had no idea who or what the popo were. Poo-poo, I did know. I'd never heard the term, had to go back to the office and ask someone else. But the parents knew and understood, and I think those particular clients tried to behave after that because they did not want to end up back in the courtroom. And the minor children were much better off because of it. It's our job function. And that was the type of family court magistrate that Judge DeBoer was. She's full of positive energy that is contagious. She had an immediate impact on me from the day that I met her. I instantly felt welcomed, valued, and supported. Her strength, confidence, and capabilities inspire all she encounters and those that she leads. I am forever grateful to her for the opportunity she gave me to serve, and her influence will continue to guide me throughout my career. She left a significant footprint in Porter County that will be very difficult to fill. She will be missed. Oh, it says she is missed. They're already missing. You've only been gone a couple months. So that's someone that Mary has mentored. And then to finish up, I think this is a local lawyer. In my lifetime, I've had the privilege of encountering only a handful of individuals who have captured my attention and respect. Mary's impressive credentials, including her impeccable reputation, ethics, integrity, intelligence, and other notable traits, make her an outstanding addition to the Court of Appeals. What I deeply admire the most is her dedication to living an authentic life and her capacity to balance making difficult decisions while maintaining kindness, understanding, empathy towards the lives she impacts. Her presence at the table brings a heightened level of excellence which she accomplishes with a smile. She is truly a remarkable individual, and the governor made the absolute correct and best choice. Congrats, Mary.
Thank you, Robert. Our last speaker is the Honorable John Martin, Magistrate Judge in Northern District of Indiana.
Judge Altice, Chief Justice Rush, I'm honored to join all of you fellow Hoosiers here in this beautiful Supreme Court chamber to honor the robing of Mary DeBoer. The last time I followed Gary Gurman, even though he's one away, was 35 years ago in the Chesterton Town Court. I was prosecuting a case and he was defending the case. And after my rebuttal, which is when I followed him, we were waiting for the jury, and I said, I was so nervous. And he said, oh, you did a great job. And I said, well, when do you lose that nervousness? Well, we both have answered that question. You never lose that, especially when it's something that matters so much to you. I want to thank you, Judge DeBoer, Mary, for requesting my attendance and remarks. Your faith in me has always been inspirational. More about that later. I hope my brief remarks can do justice to my love for you and for Dave and your family, and do justice to the fact that I believe you are one of the most thoughtful, hardest working, and intelligent people I've ever met, as others have said. And as a friend, you are truly the best. Just the many things that I can say are many times overdone in my years of knowing Mary and Dave. But one thing that sort of sums things up is I recently remodeled my home, and I have a book curio cases and cabinets, and I had them repainted, and I had to take all the stuff off of sports memorabilia and all the things that a bachelor would accumulate, and really junk. And I realized that, and I started to throw things away. And I threw a lot of things away and gave them to Goodwill. And I noticed that the things that I had left that I was actually putting back, other than about half of the books, almost all of it was given to me by Judge DeBoer and by Dave. And I say Dave, I know that it was picked out by Judge DeBoer because I won't say anything more, but I just know that. One of the things that I do have that I kept in the case is a set of charcuterie boards and service. And it just reminded me, I was like, I love charcuterie and doing charcuterie so much. And she's just so thoughtful because she, here's the perfect gift. Also this beautiful blanket, throw rug that I didn't have, throw blanket that I didn't have. And then I kind of realized, I think the last time they came over, I served charcuterie in paper plates, so it was something that I really needed. I just find it, for Porter County and for the state of Indiana, for all of us that know lawyers from the Porter County area, I just find it of such great significance that you are walking in the footprints of greatness. You are the two women that treaded the path through the Porter County judiciary. You followed the late dear Mary Harper to the circuit court bench. And if that isn't enough said, you are now joining the great Nancy Vadic, 25 years coming, her sterling service to the court. How is that for an accomplishment? And these people have been mentors to me, teachers to me, sort of a Mount Rushmore, I would say, of judicial service. And I have all confidence that Judge DeBoer will carve that place on that mountain. Mary and her husband Dave, as I've indicated, have been two of my closest friends and confidants for many years. I don't have any brothers or sisters, but I never lack for the love of a sibling because of people like Mary and Dave, and I'll mention Margaret and Greg, who are here. When I had the crazy idea 12 years or so to apply as a United States magistrate judge, I doubt that I would have had the confidence to pursue the federal bench, to pursue this position. It wasn't easy to decide to fill out those 30 pages that you have to tell the story of your life as if you mattered enough to be presented as a federal judge or a judge of the Court of Appeals. But one of the first people that I talked to about doing that were in my kitchen, Mary and Dave, when I told them that. And Mary's face lit up, and they rejoiced. And Mary was something like, "Oh, Jack, you're perfect. I mean, you're exactly what they want." And I said, "Well, do I have the accomplishments?" And she started reeling off my life and the things that I did, things I'd not realized or had forgotten. And I honestly can say that without the reaction like that from these people, I would not have had the confidence to potentially fail and write that application, go through that series of interviews, and it was that support that did it. It just comes so natural to Judge DeBoer. Just like the thoughtful gifts, she always goes that extra mile. The Tin Man, the Scarecrow, and the Cowardly Lion needed that encouragement. I needed some friends to tell me that I had the heart, the brains, and the courage, as we all do, that we sometimes overlook. When Judge Harper decided to retire, I knew that Mary DeBoer was the perfect person to replace her. I had seen firsthand her heart, intelligence, and work ethic, and also just how personal and warm and sincere she was. And after she became a judge, I would travel with them sometimes. Sometimes they would come and stay at my place, and we would go out for the weekend. And I get up at like 6 o'clock in the morning and make coffee. And where would Judge DeBoer be when I was getting up to make coffee? Sitting in my living room in the window with an advance sheet and a pen, or a draft opinion and a pen. This at a time when the furthest thing from Judge Martin's mind was anything to do with the law. I have no idea where you get your energy and enthusiasm for your work. And it's just inspiring, both inspiring and shaming for me, I can say that. As Circuit Court Judge, you have been stellar, as everyone has talked about before. You were appointed to serve out Judge Harper's remaining term, and then you had to run for an election in less than 2 years. I remember when you started on the campaign, and I remember talking to Dave and seeing you as you were getting ready to go out to endless meetings and coffees and making pancakes and knocking on doors, speaking to groups. And I think a quality that Mary has that I have observed is that sincerity. When she talks to someone, they know that she means what she's saying. And when she went and talked about the court with all of that sincerity, with all of these people around the county, in Porter County, we have a very close electorate. We have very competitive elections. The other judgeships that were won were decided by 500 votes, and I think another one by 1,000 votes. But I remember at the time checking out the vote total, and Judge DeBoer won hers by 11,000 votes. Those 10,000 votes, I think, were 10,000 people that saw her and trusted her, and that's why there was that flip. That's the kind of work that the court is getting. And Judge Altice, I know that it's important because there's other judicial roles that we play, and you'll be asking from time to time judges to do particular things out in the community and speak. Judge DeBoer will always be there to do those things. As we talked about, as it was mentioned, in her spare time, she immerses herself in community theater, but not in the extra or bit parts, but in the major roles. So amongst all of this, being circuit court judge, when she was magistrate judge, she immersed herself in theater and is awarded nominated actress. I'm sure that her appeals court duties may stall her acting career, but I'm sure that Indianapolis will soon see Judge DeBoer becoming the unsinkable Molly Brown soon enough. On numerous occasions, as also been mentioned, Judge DeBoer stepped into roles, judicial roles, around the courthouse. In Stark County, they needed a chief deputy probation officer, and she took over that role until they could permanently fill that spot. In Porter County, one of our friends and judge became ill, and The court needed to be taken over, a divorce court, that type of court, the family law court that has to continue to move. She stepped in and took that role, I think, on 2 occasions. And so she is the person that will step into what is needed, and it has always been that person. One time that she did that, I had a sure winner as a public defender. That didn't happen very often in my career, but I had a sure winner case, and my client had a really bad record. So they weren't dismissing the case. But I was just bold, and you know, I'm going forward. I get to the pretrial conference 7 days before the trial, and I wasn't greeted by the prosecutor who had been working on the case. I was greeted by a very intelligent, eager, and very pregnant Mary DeBoer. I thought to myself, okay, this is a loser now, because there's no way that they're going to side with me over her in trial. I couldn't believe the chief deputy would dump the case on her. I couldn't believe that she would accept the case, but she did. I won't go into the details of the case. If they're serving cocktails, and maybe after a couple of cocktails, I may do that. The last thing that I want to talk about is Judge DeBoer's commitment to her family. I just think that that is so important, and I think that the reason why I was chosen was because I know a lot about that. Suffice it to say, Dave and Mary are very much in love and a joy to be around. One of the many things that I have witnessed is during the golf trips, or I've noticed that from time to time in the golf shirt for the day, there'll be a little card. And Dave will open up that card and he'll gleam because it's a card that Mary put in his luggage that he didn't know about. When you speak about Mary to Dave, he lights up. When you speak about Dave to Mary, she just appreciates everything that he does. She loves him so dearly, and it's just inspiring to me to see people that have that type of connection. 2 of Mary and Dave's children are here today, Ashley and Lindsay. I've seen the love for these 2 girls on many occasions, shopping at the mall, picking out things. Suffice it to say that I believe that Mary DeBoer could teach a class on how to be your child and stepchild's best friend and yet still maintain their utmost respect. I want to close with a passage that inspires me from George Bernard Shaw, which I believe captures Judge DeBoer perfectly. He says, "This is the true joy in life. Being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one. Being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion it is my privilege to do for it what I can. My life belongs to the whole community. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is sort of a splendid torch, which I have got held up for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before passing it on to future generations." That is you, Judge Mary DeBoer. Congratulations.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to administer the oath. It's my pleasure to do so, and thank you for asking me to do so, Mary. Mary's husband, David, is going to help with the robe, and Lindsay is going to hold the Bible. So we'll meet you right over here. Right, you ready? All right. I state your name.
I, Mary DeBoer,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
and that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge the duties of judge
discharge the duties of judge
of the Court of Appeals of Indiana
of the Court of Appeals of Indiana
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Awesome. Congrats. Judge DeBoer, the podium is all yours.
Thank you. Whew. Good afternoon. I want to welcome my friends from the governor's office, Valparaiso's own Mayor Costas. I'm not sure if he's here. I thought he was on the list. Legislators from up north and other parts of the state, justices on the Supreme Court, judges from our Court of Appeals, my federal and state trial court colleagues, members of the Judicial Nominating Commission, family and friends. Thank you, Larry Morris, Marissa Marchino, and Ann Fuchs for the work that you did to set up this lovely event and for your guidance. I am very grateful. And thank you all for coming today. As you can imagine, it's an incredibly special day for me. This is a day where I step into the vacancy left by my esteemed predecessor, Patricia Riley, a trailblazer on this court. Now, looking around the Supreme Court courtroom today, I realize that in the past, I have always been sitting where you are when I have attended these events for my friends. I've never had this perspective. And to be honest, this is way cooler. I'd like to introduce my family. My husband, David, and two of our three daughters, Lindsay and Ashley, are here. Aubrey and two of my sons-in-law couldn't make it today due to work obligations. My mom and dad, my brothers and sister-in-law are also here to celebrate this day, and Dane is watching from above. Thank you, Dave and Lindsay, for the unwavering support you provided and the sacrifices that you both made as I studied, practiced, and met with dozens of people during the past 9 months leading up to my appointment. You were patient with me when I would act like I was listening, but really was thinking about changing something on my application. You just loved me and put up with me. Thank you. As I was preparing my remarks, I realized that I literally could spend the better part of an afternoon just thanking everyone who had something to do with me getting to this point. There are those who directly impacted me through this process. Every member of the J&C, the governor and his able staff, the judges on the Court of Appeals, the justices on the Supreme Court, lawyers, professors, legislators, our mayor, my close judicial colleagues, many friends, and my family all listened to me, advised me, and supported me. These people went out of their way to write letters, to hold meetings, conduct mock interviews with me, and make calls on my behalf. You know who you are, and please know how grateful I am for your kindness throughout this journey. Thank you so much, Governor Holcomb, for your confidence and faith in me. There are also those who indirectly impacted me through the years. Family, friends, coworkers, and colleagues who shaped who I am and who I am not. Mentors like Kim Hall, Roger Bradford, and Mary Harper. My life up to this point has served as the stage upon which I have failed, then grown, where I've tripped and then got up again. It's been a heck of a ride. A friend of mine told me that during this application process, the JNC and the governor would want to know my story. He said, "The story is less about what is on my application and more about how and why those things got on there." And so began the challenge of figuring out what to say today. I don't consider myself or my story extraordinary. My family and I have good times and bad times just like everyone else. We've suffered losses just like everyone else. And I've had struggles, but not horrible ones. So what are some things that I can tell you about Mary DeBoer? I went to Loynorix High School in Kalamazoo, Michigan. We were called the Loynorix Knights. I ran cross country, didn't love it. I played tennis, was decent, but not great. And volleyball. I loved volleyball, and I was pretty scrappy out there at my full height of 5'5". I was in choir, and I really wasn't a part of any group while at the same time being a part of all groups, a quality that I know helped me all through the different stages of my life. I took one theater class not knowing that almost 20 years later it would become one of the loves of my life. Fun fact, I went to Western Michigan University to study criminal law and to get a 4-year degree in law enforcement. My family thought I was insane. I weighed 100 pounds dripping wet, and I was so tiny. Who was going to take me seriously? But being a police officer and then a detective was what I wanted to do more than anything in the world. Do you know why? Cagney and Lacey. Now, don't even judge me. At that point in my life, it was not that deep. But my junior year of college, I had tapped into that part of myself where I loved to learn, and I knew I wanted to keep going. And so I went to law school. And I have to admit, law school was not my cup of tea as much. I enjoyed my classes and definitely my classmates, but I really didn't have that epiphany that brought everything together in the law until I was studying for the bar exam. My law school experience taught me the value of trusting the process, and I experienced plenty of humility. After law school, I started my career as a deputy prosecutor, and I loved it. I enjoyed meticulously preparing cases for trial, being the prosecutor's Erin Brockovich when I'd sit second chair for big trials. Working in the prosecutor's office taught me so much more than just working on cases and presenting evidence to juries. I learned how to talk to all kinds of people, be it victims or police or jurors. I wanted to be someone who protected our community, who kept people safer than they would have been without me there, who helped victims through those traumatic times. And so that's what I did for about 14 years. And during those years, besides learning more and more about the law, I learned the value of preparation and adaptability. In 2005, I had my first taste of being a judicial officer in the Stark Circuit Court. I was in my 30s, and I couldn't believe how much I enjoyed being in a position of neutrality versus advocating for a side. Although this was my foray into the world of judging, for a variety of reasons, I stepped down and returned to prosecuting domestic violence cases. But from my time in Stark County, I learned the value of teamwork and following your gut. From 2011 until about 7 weeks ago, I served as a Superior Court magistrate and the Circuit Court judge in Porter County. I know the people sitting in this room today, and I know many of you have worked with families, whether it's in the context of paternities, divorces, or chins. So you know what I'm talking about when I say that while those cases are the most grueling, they can also be the most rewarding. I truly loved being a magistrate in family court. I had the privilege of presiding over half of all the divorces filed in Porter County for the better part of 9 years. I learned so much during this time about myself and about people in general. Now, I'm going to be honest with you right now, and I can do this because I know it's too late for the governor to rescind my appointment. But in divorce and paternity court, it does get a little bit like Jerry Springer in the courtroom sometimes. And I don't care how calm you are or in control of your courtroom you think you are, things will be rolling along just fine and then turn on you in a moment. People start talking over each other and it can get ugly. And I've had to raise my voice, even had to yell on occasion to rein in these folks. Now, most of the time when this happened, it was because parties weren't represented by attorneys, so they didn't have someone to advise them about courtroom demeanor. But I would go to our judicial conferences and attend these educational sessions about civility in the courtroom and walk out convinced that the instructors had spied on me and were directing all of their lessons about judicial demeanor at me. In fact, you could always tell which judicial officers had family law cases because we were always the one walking out of the sessions like this, feeling lousy. But it was during this stretch of my career that I learned the most inside the courtroom. My writing evolved, and I found value in writing my orders in such a way that parties understood why I ruled the way that I did, and that protected the record if the parties wanted to appeal my ruling. I also became a much better listener. As parents, Dave and I were very lucky to have really good kids. Yelling wasn't a thing in our home. I think I yelled more in some of those hearings I mentioned earlier than I ever did at home. But eventually I learned that sometimes when the party's volume goes up, my volume should go down. And once I started doing that, it was a game changer. I also learned that I didn't have to assert my authority because I was the authority. You just have to find your way. But one of the best lessons I learned while in family court was just how important it is to have and exercise common sense. When one of the litigants tells you in a provisional hearing that she has hijacked her husband's prosthetic legs and is holding him hostage, you tell her to give him back his legs by 5 p.m. You find creative ways to help parties divide their personal property, or innovative scheduling for parenting time. In a weird way, it's fun. It's frustrating and it's hard, but the challenge is fun, especially when it gets the parties back on track. During this time in my career, I learned the value of being an effective problem solver and the importance of treating every case with a fresh set of eyes. In 2020, I began my service as a circuit court judge in Porter County. I was number 41 of Holcomb's 100, as Chief Justice Rush coined the term this year, which represents the first 100 judicial appointees the governor made. I know I said I loved being a family court magistrate, and I did, until I became a circuit court judge, and then I loved that position. My family court days were behind me. I shifted to hearing 1/3 of all of our high-level felony criminal and 1/3 of our civil matters. The criminal cases were much easier for me given my years as a deputy prosecutor, but the magnitude of those cases coming through required thoughtful thoroughness in moving these matters through the system. I learned a lot from every single murder, child molest, incest, or rape trial that I conducted. In circuit court, I learned about collegiality and collaboration, not only with my own colleagues in Porter County, but with my judicial friends around the state. Your judicial friends are your work family. We rely on each other and we consult and console each other. I learned a lot from spending time with them. And this is a good time to recognize a special group of friends. I graduated from the graduate program for judges in 2018, and many of the BCE class are here because that is what we do. We continue to support each other whenever and wherever we can. So raise your hand if you're part of the BCE, which is the best class ever. Thank you, friends, for coming, and thank you, Chief Justice, for allowing this program to continue. In circuit court, I also presided over civil cases, all kinds of them. Some counties divide their courts into civil and criminal courts, but Porter County doesn't. I was given a gift by being able to work on both types of cases. I had the privilege of working with criminal and civil attorneys, of learning so much about both kinds of cases, and doing so gave me the confidence to apply for the Court of Appeals. I could now contribute to the court in a way that I couldn't have before. I also oversaw the Juvenile Services Center, housing our juvenile court, probation, and detention center. And doing so led me to grow as an administrator with over 100 people to supervise and lead. My circuit court team, both in the Valpo Courthouse and at the Juvenile Services Center, allowed me to shine. When you have such strong support around you that it frees you up to think outside the box and reach out into your community, you've hit pay dirt. Kristen, Susie, Michelle, Yvette, Gina, Amy, Allison, Chris, Monica, and Danielle, you guys are amazing and got me to this point. Thank you. From my years in circuit court, I've learned the value of collaboration with community stakeholders, dedication to the rule of law, vision for my own court as well as the community, and good old-fashioned people skills. I'm grateful to the people that I worked with who busted their butts to do a good job for me, who cared about me as much as I cared about them. These people wanted me to succeed, even if it meant leaving them. But here I am on the Court of Appeals of Indiana now. I have new friends and colleagues on the court who have exemplified true collegiality. When you're a trial court judge, you are an island a lot of the times, working solo. You get a case, you review it, you research the issues, you write the orders, and if the parties don't like it, they appeal it. But on the appellate court, you're part of a team of 3 and of 15. What I put out represents the entire panel in the court, not just me. So there's a lot of room for discussion and respectful debate. The goal is to elevate each other for the benefit of the law. It's pretty great. I have to admit that I like the fact that the pace is less frantic and my hair isn't always on fire like it was as a trial court judge. It's really cool to have time to think about the law. With my clerks, Inga, Jackson, and Silas. Give a wave. There they are. These are my people. My administrative assistant, Evangeline, is a law student who has contributed much to our team and has already shown she will be a formidable lawyer someday. It has been interesting getting to know my colleagues here on the court. The personalities couldn't be more varied. Some are quiet but powerful. Others are more vocal. Alanis Morissette has a song called Hand in My Pocket, where she talks about the 2 sides of the same coin when describing her characteristics. If I had to sum up mine, it would go something like this. I'm bold, but I'm humble. I'm energetic, but I'm serious. I'm happy, but I'm restless. I'm friendly, but I'm firm. I'm funny, but I'm thoughtful. I'm new, but I'm driven. I'm slight, but I'm a force. I'm excited to share my energy and enthusiasm with the Court of Appeals and, by extension, the rest of the state. I don't know if people who know me well would have anticipated my desire to apply for this position. Everyone knows I'm very much a people person, but I love stretching and serving and learning. And what better place to do all 3 of these things than on the Court of Appeals with 14 other judges whom I admire. And you know what? I love this job. If you know me, you know I don't have a slow speed. I dive in and get to work. I'm new, and I'm still getting settled and learning so much every single day. But despite being green, I'm finding ways to get out there. In the 7 weeks since I've started on the court, we bought a house, moved, and gotten settled. I've spoken to a group of middle schoolers about our court, joined the Appellate Practice Division of the Indiana State Bar Association, had my first oral argument at Notre Dame before a group of defense attorneys. I voted on 24 cases written from 5 different colleagues, written 11 appellate opinions, and been asked to be part of a team to lead statewide criminal justice reform in the coming year. And last week I spoke at an event honoring Governor Holcomb. You know what I have not done? My Christmas shopping. So let's wrap this up. Thank you all again for honoring me with your presence today, and thank you for your support, your time, and your friendship. Happy holidays, and thank you.
All right, Judge DeBoer, at this time, I invite you to take a seat with your new colleagues right there next to Judge Felix, who's now thrilled that he's not the newest judge on the court. And at this time, it's my opportunity just to give a few words to Judge DeBoer. Certainly welcome to the Court of Appeals, Judge DeBoer. We are all very excited to have you here on the court. Of course, most of us knew you when you were on the trial court. It's easy to get to know you. And we already knew how bright you were. We knew what a hard worker you were. We knew you were involved in the legal community. We knew you were involved in the judiciary, and we knew you were involved in the community at large. Perhaps most importantly, as we've all heard here today, is we knew the type of energy that you bring to this job. And with all due respect to our Chief Justice, many of us refer to her as the Energizer Bunny. And I'm so excited we now have our own Energizer Bunny. So welcome to the court. So that concludes our ceremony here today. I would invite everybody that is here today to join us in a reception on the 4th floor. So please go upstairs to the 4th floor. We have a lot more room up there, and there's plenty of good stuff up there. So bailiff, you may adjourn.
Gary Gurman.